Howdy folks, this is Trader Big T with your trading lesson of today, where we will be discussing live calls made in the Tim Alerts chat room today. Okay, let's clarify a few things about learning how to trade stocks like a seasoned professional. What often happens in the chat room with some folks is that they call out various highs, they call out stocks that are not proper shorts as shorts, and they call out longs for stocks that are not longs. You need to be careful of discretionary trading, even as a day trader. You should make sure that when you make a play that there's some rational reason based on market forces, known patterns, and setups, that your selections jibe with technical analysis. Let's discuss this a little more clearly here with some real live examples that happened today. Okay, one of the stocks was a stock that I called GPOR. And what you can see from this chart is the stock was pretty strong today, and it ran up and it reached this high right here and here where I'm clicking. And we got a high like of 13.29. And then for at least a good hour or two, we had what could be known as a consolidation period, where the stock trades in a relatively narrow range and goes straight across. Okay, at some point, this is broken, and ideally be broken later in the day. What was probably problematic about GPOR is that we didn't get a high a little earlier in the day, so it actually lessened its effectiveness. And what happened here is eventually I made a call when this stock started to break out from this range. First, it broke out from the high of the consolidation itself, which was, I think, a little under $13. And it did so on some volume. So there was some sort of play that you were calling out with potential. And it could have run further. It did not. But at least it is a call that is based upon, known patterns in the market and is based upon, based upon sets of rules that you try to follow. You don't trade discretionarily. Okay, now Ling. This actually there was a call made by someone else in the chat room, and this stock powered way up, fell down, then recovered, and stock eventually failed right near its high. You can see when you have support or resistance, in this case resistance, that can actually serve as a force because the stock might not make it past that point. So if it's punctured, that can be significant. If you fail there, that can be significant. And right here, it failed, so there was a possible short, and of course that turned out. But it's not a random call. Okay, AEN, that stock was in trouble, and what we want to do actually is take a look at the last 2 days. Because the stock already began a problem in the afternoon. It started tanking, and it went red on the session. And what happened here is the previous day our close was at what, 186? Then when we move to today, let's go back to our 1-day chart, current day chart. When we go to today, we get past the pre-market, and then we get here. We notice that the stock is opened, I believe, gapped a little down, so it's already red, and then it quickly went red with these like bigger candles. So you already knew that this stock was a definite shorting candidate on the day, and it went redder, and it just faded, and it was actually a very forgotten short by everybody in the room. But it really definitely would have paid the bills. This AEN short would have definitely panned out here, and it's not a random call. There's some basis for the price action. Okay. Zane, this one was noted, but there were a lack of shares available. But there was just nothing holding this up, so it was a gimme. Okay, ZQK, that was another one that was called by the moderator. The stock has been in play for some time. It's been a pretty strong stock kind of lately. You look at the chart of this darn thing. ZQK, here's our chart. Here's a daily chart of this. And you can see, boom, a few weeks ago, this was being called out for some really strong plays, and I think I did a video on it. And we had a little bit of kind of sideways, consolidation, and then stock just took off. And today it was very strong. But let's look at this specifically. What we did is we put in this relatively early high, a little bit later in the morning, like 10:30, which we had this rise. And we got up to this 510, 509 part. And then we just went sideways, and you couldn't get beyond this little band here. And you had this sideways price action for a number of hours. Then late in the day, the moderator Reaper called this out, and you see this volume explosion here where I'm clicking here, and this stock broke out of that range. So that's a legitimate call. It's not just a random stock alert. It's something that's based upon known market patterns of supply and demand when a specific area is breached. Okay, and in this case it was like 510 on strong volume. So that was a professional call. Okay, Gent. This was a little bit different. What we did was we went way up, and then it actually faded, and then it had the sideways consolidation, and it kind of busted that bottom zone of it, and you didn't get much from it. So that really wasn't so great, but at least there was some sort of call to it. Nanix. This was a key call. This stock has been overextended now for some time, and it had been faring fairly well. But then there's this area here, and you can see where if you're pointing here, you can put this crosshair up here, that there's this $2 level. And we know that these whole number levels are pretty significant, but right here you actually have it on the chart. And if you breach that level, you're going to get some probable more downside. So that was a very logical point where that you would have targeted here, because this is like an intraday support here if it takes it out, because it was already a shorting target. It did, and it got all the way down to 184. Not spectacular, but it was a definite reasoned call. So this is not a random call, just pointing out, hey, let's go short on this. That's not how you trade stocks. Okay, this was another one that I had called. This went way up. Then we had kind of this sideways action. But in this case, here's that bottom floor at $7 right here, this consolidation range here. It's kind of like a little bit of a channel. It's not really perfectly straight across. And we get this burst of volume down here, reading volume, and there's like a short entry here. Didn't turn out great for the rest of this, but it was at least a play. You busted this range. I would prefer to have to set an alert on the high to retake and overtake the high. But in this case, at least, you've called some break from this range. You've got some sort of play that you can work with. Okay, ABio. This was another one. Right here, there's like this 535, this low area where there was some intraday support here. And once that starts to get taken out, that stock becomes a definite short, because there's nothing really holding up this stock. This is crappy. I think this is the delister play. And this was shorted by a number of people and pretty sensibly. And of course, by the time you're down here, you short somewhere around 520. The stock kept going down, and it actually breached that $5 level, and it's been working out so far. So again, this is not a random call. It's based on known patterns. Okay, Iman. This one, a few calls on this. There was nothing spectacular. Right around here, I think, I alerted the room. We had some level around 425 that was actually struck several times here intraday. This is stock has been uptrending. And then once it started getting beyond that and had this big stick where there was this increase in volume, you actually had a possibility of going long. And right there, it worked nominally, but at least it was a reasoned call. Okay, so make sure that when you're looking at stocks, not to enter randomly or emotionally. You have to make sure that there is a valid play setup that you were working with that's based on known technical analysis theory. Don't just play randomly or emotionally. I'm gonna write a more in-depth article, possibly with charts, on this subject, because I find it very distressing that a lot of people are not well put together in terms of understanding how trading stocks works. Okay, until we see you next time in the trenches, we'll catch back with you later as you learn to trade with Big T.